Okay, go to the slide that says political machine. With the growth of urban America, we saw the development of political machines. And skip down to where it said, well, the machine is the machine is not the government. The machine is the political party that comes to control the city government. For the party machine to control the city government, they are going to have to control the nominating process. And that's what, you know, the smoke-filled rooms and the backs of pubs. Okay. Skip down to the slide that says political machine, characteristics of the party machine. Remember that the leadership of these party machines excuse me, came from lower socioeconomic backgrounds. They were working class people. They weren't highly educated. The next slide, where it says hierarchy. The boss is powerful because he controls the party, not because he controls the government, because he controls the party. Because if he can control the party, then he can control the government. But when we say he's the boss, we mean he's the boss of the party. The machine is the party. The machine is not the government. Okay, so on the hierarchy, go down to where at the pretty close to the bottom, third line up, fourth line up, it says precinct captain. Do you see that? Okay, the precinct captain is the neighborhood party official that works to get people who support the party out to the voting place. And they're the person you go to if you need something from the party. If your kid gets arrested and you want help getting him out of jail, you would go see your precinct captain. Okay, above the precinct captain is the ward leader. So the ward leader is going to manage all the precinct captains. Above that is going to be the party's central committee. And they're going to do a lot of things that are on that list. And they are going to manage the ward leaders. And then above the central committee is going to be the boss. And the boss is going to have the last authority on what the party is going to do. All right? So, skip down to the slide that says political machine continued and it says control of nominations. The machines really flourished in an era before we had primary elections. A primary election is an election within the party to nominate the candidates for office. If you can't get nominated, you can't win at the general election. So the parties, the machine parties, had to control the nomination process, which they did, because that's how candidates were nominated in those days. Okay, go to the slide that says political machine, and then it shows you Boss Tweed. He was the political boss of New York City, and where his party machine met was a building called Tammany Hall. Okay. Some of the bosses were personally corrupt and some were only taking money for their party. He was personally corrupt. He was from working class origins, and he eventually was prosecuted on issues related to corruption, and he actually went to prison and died in prison. And then we have the example of Richard Daley. I say Richard Daley Sr. because his son was mayor later. Technically, they're not senior and junior. Technically, they have different middle names, but it's easier just to call them Richard Daley Sr. and Richard Daley Jr. Okay, Richard Daley Sr. was the boss of Chicago for, I don't know, from the 1950s until his death in the 1970s, for a very long time. He was from a working class background. His father was a sheet metal worker. He went to night school and put himself through law school. He was the old-fashioned political machine boss, but there have never been any verified allegations that he took money for his own personal use. He took money for the benefit of the party, but he didn't put it in his own pockets. You know, they talk about honest graft and dishonest graft. Okay, so Boss Tweed was dishonest in his graft, and Richard Daley Sr. was honest in his graft. Okay, The next slide says political machine, factors that maintain the machine. Remember that the three things that are integral to maintaining the machine are the support of the immigrants, support of the business community, and what we call Jacksonian democracy. Okay, skip to the slide that says most immigrants did not come from democratic countries. Do you see that slide? Okay. These immigrants from Ireland and Italy, they didn't get to vote in Ireland and Italy. They never lived in a true democracy. So they were happy to vote for the machine because the machine exchanged something, gave them something. So we call that exchange politics. It's also called brokerage politics. You give your vote to the machine, and the machine gives you a turkey on Christmas, a bucket of coal in the winter, and gets your kid out of jail when he's been arrested. That's exchange. Something material is exchanged for your vote. All right? And that system works pretty well, actually, for both the immigrants and the political machine, if you think it's okay for the political machine to work well. And you have to remember, at this time period, we don't have governments providing social welfare programs. We don't have aid to families with dependent children or workfare or government programs of that sort. And so, essentially, the machine is providing the poor immigrants an informal social welfare program outside of the government. And that continues until the administration of Franklin Delano Roosevelt in the 1930s, and that's when we get the huge social welfare system that we know today, run by the government. Okay, go to the next slide. Maintain the political machines, the immigrants continued. Machine politics always involves exchange politics and usually involves ethnic politics. In this case, getting the Irish to vote as a bloc. Okay, skip down to the slide that says maintaining the political machine, Jacksonian democracy. Oops, wait a minute. I'm sorry. We're not quite there yet. Go to the slide that says the business community. All right. The political machine, if they're going to give away coal and Christmas turkeys, they're going to need some money. And they get that money from the business community. They take bribes under the table from big construction firms. And so the way you got the contract to build City Hall or to build a new sewer system was you paid off the party in cash, quote unquote, under the table, and then you got the bid. But that system, of course, became expensive and inefficient because it wasn't the company that offered the best bid that got the contract. It's the company that put the most money under the table that got the contract. Right? So you have the immigrants and their votes, exchanging their votes for material things. You have the business community giving the machine money. And now we're going to Jacksonian democracy. Okay. President Jackson was elected in 1828. He is considered to be the father of the modern-day Democratic Party, which, as a bit of trivia, is the longest existing political party among Western democracies. So there you go. All right. Go to the next slide. And go down to the second from the last line. Jacksonian democracy involved a belief that the common man should vote for government and the common man should run government. Go to the next slide. In order to do that, people who are supportive of Jacksonian democracy advocated what we call a weak mayor form of government. They advocated that a lot of positions in city government be elected by the voters rather than appointed by the mayor. That sounds more democratic, but in reality, it leads to less accountability. Okay. Also on that slide, the spoil system. It was part of President Jackson's philosophy that when a new mayor came to town, a new mayor was elected, it was his choice to fire all the existing city employees and hire his own political supporters in city jobs. So we say that is spoiling the other party. You fire all the other the supporters of the other party who already work for the city, and you put your own people in. It's also called a patronage system. Next slide. Remember that in a weak mayor form of government, remember that the mayor is weak because, I'm going to say he because there were no she mayors in those times, because he lacks administrative power. He lacks the power to hire and fire, right? Because all these people, the city commissioner of this and that, and the dog catcher, all those people are being elected. The next slide. One of the results of Jacksonian democracy is it really contributes to strong parties. Because if you're going to be strong if you can fire all the people from the other party and they don't have jobs anymore. Your party's going to be strong. All right? And that is it.